what's happened now with my former party, instead of trying to win more votes, they've decided to try to curate the vote and pick the voters. Now, in many ways, this is just an extension of what happened when the African American support of the party collapsed in 1964. The party, so just to back up there, 1956, Eisenhower got almost 40% of the black vote. It fell off a cliff when Goldwater opposed the Civil Rights Act, down to 7%. Last November in the Virginia governor's race, the Republican nominee for governor, who was African American, got 7%. Pretty much a flat line. That's 58 years, something. And that really goes to the heart of how we failed in the party. We had this choice. We had to ask ourselves, why is it that a certain segment of voters out there are overwhelmingly against us? I mean, 90+%. And these are African American voters. And when I worked for Governor Bush and President Bush, we failed at this too. But at least we thought it was a failure. And we admitted it was a failure. And we tried to do more. And ultimately, voting, I think, is sort of the perfect marketplace. People vote for what they can vote for anybody, and they vote for what they want to vote for. Which is why this nonsense that Donald Trump hijacked the Republican Party. He didn't hijack the party. The hijacker is never popular on the plane. Nobody's sitting there going, oh, great, we get to go to Cuba, not to grandma's. No. And Donald Trump was wildly popular. So the party failed and became an increasingly white party in a country that is becoming a minority-majority party. And that failure is ultimately the same instinct carried to another level that Donald Trump has and Republicans have now, so many of them, when they try to curate the election. The ultimate curation is to say, I won the 2020 election, even though I lost by millions and millions of votes. When you can curate truth, you can curate an election. When you can curate facts, you can curate an election. So, Trump, he's sitting around. They said, we're going to lose. We got a bunch of yahoos in Texas. They'll do anything we say. So let's push redistricting to Texas. And that's going to give us a bunch of extra votes, a bunch of extra seats, and that'll be a cushion. Which was all working great until, it didn't work. And, say what you will about Gavin Newsom in California. He had the right idea. He said, nope. Nobody changes the rules in the middle of a game unless they're losing. But if you're going to change the rules, we're going to play by those rules. So we're going to do it in California. And guess what? California is bigger than Texas. So they passed but we're going to do it by vote. They passed a referendum. And it actually passed by a larger margin than Virginia. And then Democrat governor got elected. He says, we're going to do it in Virginia. And it kind of goes to one of the things that I used to always, warn clients about, the law of unintended consequences. It's that point that I always like to remind clients that, Custer was looking for Sitting Bull. So sometimes these things don't work out like you think they are.